Greetings. My name is John Murray, and I'm the pastor of First Baptist Church in Hawthorne, Nevada. Today is Mother's Day, and as we look at a little passage this morning, I don't want to look so much at mothers in particular, but I want to look at us as children. How are we supposed to celebrate Mother's Day? And I promise you we won't talk about any macaroni art or burn breakfast in bed or anything like that. But we ought to honor our mothers, our parents in general, and today we focus particularly on mothers. Now, both my wife and I are in kind of a unique situation for us. Both of our mothers have passed, mine a year ago, Lena's 2 years ago. And so we are in a situation where I can't call my mom. She didn't recognize me for basically the last 2 years of her life. And so how am I supposed to honor her? How am I supposed to respect and whatever for her? Well, here in Proverbs chapter 23, we find some ways in which even if our parents are gone, we can still honor them. Even if our parents are not believers, we can still honor them. As we look at this passage, we're going to find that we ought to honor our parents, and with today being Mother's Day, we're going to focus specifically on that. Here in Proverbs 23, it says, "Listen to your fathers who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old." So first of all, as we look at honoring our mother particularly, we're supposed to respect. Now, like I said, for the last 2 years of my mother's life, she really didn't know who I was. And so how can you respect somebody that doesn't even recognize you? Or in my situation today, how do I honor somebody who isn't even here? And there are a number of ways in which we do that. We respect their memory. We remember who they were. We do not run them down. Now, I have to be honest. Was my mother everything that she ought to be? Well, she was an extremely godly woman. She was a great example, but she wasn't always right. She still had that sin nature, just like every single one of us. And all of us experience that to one degree or other. I know there are some of you that struggle greatly with your parents. But in all of this, we can respect them. And that's a state of mind. I will not tear you down. I will try and build you up. I will honor you for those things that I can honor you for. And so, when our mother is old, don't despise her. We can hang on to that for a little while too until we get to Father's Day, and the same message will be true for Father's Day. As Solomon gets into this a little bit further, he says, "Buy truth and do not sell it. Buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding." And so part of honoring our parents can be gathering valuable assets. Now, I'm not talking about gold or real estate or any kind of stocks or bonds or things that we might typically look at and say, this is a value. Of everybody on the earth, Solomon was probably in one of the very unique places. He was outrageously wealthy. If he wanted it, he could have it. But as he talks about what is really valuable, what to hang on to, it's not some stock, it's not gold. He says, buy truth and do not sell it. Kind of the Berkshire Hathaway model of buying and holding. Well, this stock, truth, you always buy, you always hold for the rest of your life. And we honor our parents by doing that. They have endeavored oftentimes to show us what truth is. And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I know that as a father, I didn't always share, I was sometimes wrong. And I didn't always share exactly the truth. Not because I intended to deceive, but just because I was ignorant and sinful as well. And so we can still respect that in our parents. But Solomon says here, if you really want to honor them, gather truth. For us, that includes certainly understanding God's word. It includes understanding how the world functions and how it works. Gather truth, understanding who we are and who our parents are. There are any myriad kinds of truth that we ought to grab a hold of. He says, buy truth, do not sell it. Buy wisdom, and by inference we can say, and don't sell that one either. Wisdom is taking that truth and putting it into action. What does it tell us to do? How does it tell us to view the world? It's not just simply facts, but it's facts put into practice. He says, buy instruction and do not sell it. I have gained so much from so many people. I've been talking with a number of people just recently about my mechanic skills and mostly lack of them. As a teenager, my father bought me a Camaro, which sounds really cool, except that it didn't have an engine or a transmission or a hood for that matter, and we had to do a lot of fixing up on that car. I got a lot of instruction from my father. I got a lot of wisdom. I got a lot of truth. And at the end of the day, I looked at all of that and said, John, God did not call you to be a mechanic. And so I've never sold that wisdom. I've never sold that truth. And so God has me as a pastor. But there were a lot of things that I gained from my father about how to live, how to function in life, how to work, how to be an employee, how to be a boss, and all kinds of things from both my mother and my father. My mother was much quieter than my father was, but she had a quiet wisdom that was always there. So we're told to buy truth. We're told to buy wisdom. We're told to buy instruction. We're told to buy understanding. What's going on? How do things work? How does government work? How does money work? How does business work? You know, there again, this is absolutely open-ended, and we could spend 10 lifetimes gaining all of these things. But as you look at life, ask questions. How does it work? What's true? What's not true? How do things function? This is truth. This is wisdom. This is understanding. This is instruction. And if we gain these things, we become, maybe not financially successful, but we become good people. Solomon would say part of that instruction needs to be understanding God and His wisdom. And in doing so, we become Christians, followers of God. And as a parent, there is little that encourages me as much as seeing the lessons that I have tried to teach my children, sometimes well, sometimes poorly, but then I've tried to teach my children to see it in practice. And that's really encouraging as a pastor, as a parent. All those times when I would have pulled out my hair, if I could have, the kids were actually listening. And so as a child, we can honor our mother by gaining truth, wisdom, instruction, and understanding, even if it's independent of her. Then she can look at us and say, they're a good kid. They understand. They know how things work. They're doing well. Not only should we gather valuable assets and respect our parents, but also we are to bring joy to them. Look in verse 24, Proverbs 3:24. The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice. He who fathers a wise son will be glad in him. Let your father and mother be glad. Let Let her who bore you rejoice. As a parent, we don't like to see our children make mistakes. We don't like to see them get in trouble. We don't like to see them have problems. We like to see them make wise decisions. And so, kids, today, this isn't really necessarily a day for macaroni art or colored pictures, although there's a place for that. But as we look at it from God's perspective, honoring our parents and our mother in particular means that we need to be the right kind of people. It means that we need to have the right attitudes. It means that we need to live lives that are godly. And part of that living a life of godliness is respecting and honoring our mother. I would love to be able to take the time this afternoon to sit down and call my mom, even if she doesn't know who I was. I can't do that. She's not here, but I can still respect her. I can still honor her by the way that I live my life. I'd encourage you to do that today. If you haven't noticed, we have plans for opening up very soon. In fact, from the time I'm doing this video, next week, May 18th and 21st, check out my other video that I posted today about opening up. And give me a call, text, message, email, whatever. And look forward to seeing you very soon now. But on this Mother's Day, make sure that you honor particularly your mother, by being the right kind of child.